Welcome to the real life show, Living with a Chronic Illness. We are your hosts, Cassie and Chelsea. I'm Cassie, a single mom living with a chronic illness who is extremely passionate about living a full and happy life.
And I'm Chelsea, a mindset coach that has a passion for helping people learn to put themselves first and be the best version of themselves each and every day.
We came together to create Spoonies Unite, an uplifting community that offers resources, guidance, and support so you can live your best life while giving you the space to be yourself, be heard, and feel understood. We hope that by providing education from experts, we help Spoonies and their loved ones thrive.
This show is not only for those who live with a chronic illness, but their friends, family, spouses, and just anyone else existing on the earth. Our goal is to normalizing having a chronic illness by sharing the real stories with real people and show the world how relatable those everyday struggles can be. There's a little something in here for everyone.
And of course, thank you to our patrons for your continued support making this possible. If you love our show and want to get some extra goodies, go to patreon.com/TheRealSpooniesUnite. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the real life show, Living with a Chronic Illness. Today is an episode with just Cassie and I. We are going to talk all about what the spoon theory is and how to use it to live your best life.
So the spoon theory is why we refer to ourselves as Spoonies. It's kind of a concept that's taken social media by storm. You can see all sorts of hashtags out there, hashtag Spoonie, hashtag Spoonie Life, Spoonie Sisterhood, etc. So we found this great article on Healthline written by Kirsten Schultz about the spoon theory, which just explains it really, really well. So the spoon theory is a personal story written by Christine Miserandino. She is the founder of But You Don't Look Sick blog and Instagram account, etc. It is popular among many people dealing with chronic illness, and it describes perfectly this idea of limited energy using spoons as a unit of energy. Christine Miserandino lives with lupus, a chronic autoimmune disease which causes an immune system to attack the body's healthy cells. One day, her friend wanted to understand better the realities of living with a chronic illness. Christine thought about the best way to respond instead of just brushing it off like she was used to doing. So, sitting in a cafe, Christine goes on to explain how she gathered spoons and used them to represent finite units of energy. Energy for many of us with chronic illness is limited and depends on many factors, including stress levels, how we're sleeping, and pain. Christine then walked her friend through a normal day for her, taking spoons or energy away from the friend as the discussion went on. So she had gone around and gathered all the spoons that she could, put them out in front of her on the table, and was like, each thing you do requires a certain amount of spoons, and then take away the spoons depending on what you were doing. By the end of the day, her friend wasn't able to do as much as she wanted. When she realized Christine went through this every single day, her friend started crying, and she understood that spoons are more of a luxury. So essentially, she said that maybe if she had 10 spoons laid out in front of her, perhaps the shower took 1 spoon, going to the grocery store took 2 spoons, going to work took 4 spoons. And then once those 10 spoons were gone, there were no more spoons left in the cafe for her to grab. So you couldn't replace that energy, which is really the concept about living with a chronic illness. So the spoon theory has done some great things since its inception, and one of which is providing a way for people to meet others dealing with illness. And just doing a quick search on social media, like I said, using hashtags and such, will pull up hundreds of thousands of posts from people who identify as a spoonie. So it's been this incredible way that you can just instantly connect with other people like you. So now there's all sorts of shirts out there that say, ran out of spoons, etc. And it's just really become a way that you can calculate your energy and represent that you have a chronic illness. You can be a spoonie.
Yeah, and that's why we took the word Spoonies as part of our business name, and just trying to try to really set ourselves apart for what we're trying to do and be able to communicate easily with the people that we're trying to reach. And so one thing that Cassie and I have worked on together personally and together, and we try to helping other people with as well, is how do you go from looking at your day to figure out how many spoons you actually have, and if you're using more than the spoons that you have available to yourself, or if you're maybe have a little extra left over. And so what I always encourage my clients to do is to track your time, because the one thing that I hear the most is, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And in all honesty, there's 24 hours in a day. You have the same amount of time as Beyonce does. And you can do a lot of really, really cool stuff in that time frame with the energy that you have each day. But it does take being aware of the number of spoons you have to start with and how much energy, how many spoons each activity takes. So in order to even start figuring out where all of that energy and those spoons are going, you have to look at how you're spending your time. So when I start talking about tracking your time, I literally mean look at every single second of your day. And this process is not meant to be judgy. It's not meant to be you looking at it and be like, oh my gosh, I'm wasting so much time. Like, I'm not getting this done. Like, I'm barely getting, it's not meant to be like that at all. It is truly an observational tool. That way you can use that information going forward to make better decisions for yourself and your health. So when you start tracking your time, there's a couple ways that you can do it. I am a pen and paper chick. I love writing stuff down in my planner, but you can use the notes section on your phone. You can use a sticky note. You can use something on your computer. There's apps out there that you can download for free, or you can just track your time through those. It really doesn't matter what you use, but the idea is that you start going through every second of your day. So if it takes you 7 minutes to get out of bed in the morning, then you write down it took you 7 minutes to get out of bed. You woke up at 7 o'clock. By 7:07, you were out of bed starting to get ready. If it takes you 30 minutes to shower, you put that in. If it takes you 11 minutes to drive to work or to drop off your kids at school, you write that in. Get very, very specific. And as you start tracking your time, also start looking at how much energy those tasks are taking. So maybe use a scale of like 1 to 10, 1 being you have 0 energy with this task. Like it drains you. 10 being, yeah, you feel really, really great, or however you kind of want to quantify that scale of 1 to 10. The point is just to start noticing, man, showering is draining my energy. So that way I barely have enough to be able just to get my kids to school. Starting to notice those patterns. It's all about seeing some of those patterns in your life. And so as you do that throughout your day, write down everything. Write down how much time you spend scrolling on social media, when you're listening to podcasts, how much time you spend cooking or cleaning or working out, or literally anything that you could possibly do to spend time during your day. And then as you can start going, at the end of the day, really think about how much energy you have at the end. Are you like beyond exhausted? Are you feeling tired, but not so exhausted that you can fall asleep the second that your head hits the pillow? Notice how your body, your mind, and your soul is feeling, and start to notice, well, did I do too much in a day? Did I not do, did I have spoons left over that I could have given to something else? Chances are a lot of you listening with chronic illnesses probably aren't saying that you have extra spoons left over at the end of the day. It's probably more likely that you're saying, I used too much energy. I used too many spoons. And so maybe do this a few times during a week. Start noticing some patterns, and then start noticing which activities are incredibly draining on your energy. And then start thinking about, can you give that activity to someone else? If cooking dinner just sucks the energy from your soul, can someone else do it? Would it be worth it to maybe meal prep and spend one night cooking for the next 3 nights, so then the next 2 nights you don't have to cook as much? If showering is something that drains your energy, I know that's something Cassie and I have talked a lot about, that showering is just something that is not fun for her energy-wise. So Cassie doesn't shower every single day. She has other ways of being able to help keep herself clean. Dry shampoo for the win. Yeah. So it's this entire process of tracking your time and starting to look at how many spoons you're using is not about being like, oh my God, I didn't get anything done. It's about just looking at how you're spending your time and how that makes you feel. And really, really want to stress the fact that sometimes the most productive thing you can do is to rest. All right. Resting is really important. I was working with a client one time who she had a very, very busy day. She was working like 12 hours, was doing a lot. And we started noticing this pattern that around 1 or 2 o'clock, if she didn't take a break just for herself for even 30 minutes to just kind of chill, the rest of her day was drastically more challenging. Her symptoms would flare up. She just did not feel good. And it was like she was climbing an uphill battle the entire rest of the day. But by taking that little bit of a break, that was the most productive thing that she could do because she had the energy. She kind of gave herself a spoon or two back to get through that rest of that busy day. So resting is important. And that's one of the other great things about tracking your time is you also get to start noticing these patterns. Maybe you feel like shit in the morning. That's okay. Don't schedule stuff in the morning if you can help it. Maybe you know that after 5 o'clock, that's it for you. You can't you just don't feel good if you have to do a lot after 5 o'clock. Well, schedule your stuff, schedule your day before 5 o'clock so you have the space to do what you need to do afterwards. All right. And so one question that we get a lot is, how do you know how many spoons an activity takes? And I think that that's really, really dependent on you. You can just kind of throw out a number, like maybe just getting out of bed is a spoon. All right, well, if that takes 1 spoon, maybe showering takes 5 spoons. And maybe you just kind of start noticing over time that you really only have 10 spoons the entire day. And also really want to point out that the number of spoons you have every day can change. There might be one day you wake up and you're feeling pretty good. Maybe you have 15 spoons. Woo! Don't use more than 15 spoons. Probably still don't even use more than your normal 10 spoons. Stick with that. But you might also wake up some days and be like, man, something's up. I'm not feeling my best. I've got 5 spoons today. And then just be really aware of how you're using those spoons. Really figure out what's a priority in your life and go from there. Fit in those important things first. Everything else can wait. I promise.
Yeah, that's super great advice, Chelsea. And yeah, there might be some of us out there who are living every day for months on end with 2 to 5 spoons. And that's okay. You know, dry shampoo takes you a long way. Showering may not be worth it. And yeah, just take care of yourself. And then those of us who are living with more spoons, don't try to do all the things and go over. And I wanted to share that when Chelsea first introduced the idea of time tracking with me, I totally at first saw it as like, oh gosh, but I don't want to be aware of how much time I'm wasting every day. And I was so judgmental, and I put pressure on myself right away. And I kind of like set myself up for failure and disappointment and like feeling ashamed right off the bat. And then she explained that this is more of an observational tool. This isn't used for judgment.
Zero judgment.
Zero judgment. And then I was like, oh, okay, well then in that case. And what I found was that, yeah, if I noticed that I was like scrolling social media mindlessly, off and on for these 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there, maybe I could just do less of that. And I would be able to have more time to read a book because I love to read, but I'm terrible at making time for it. And so instead of like feeling all guilty and shaming myself for mindlessly scrolling social media, I then was like, wait a second, now I have time to read. So making sure that you are not putting judgment or pressure. And and I like that you mentioned on there too, Chelsea, that like the spoons may take different amounts for different people. Like putting laundry away is often like a spoon or 2 for me. A shower has been like 4 spoons sometimes, 6 spoons sometimes, whereas lately it's only been like 1 or 2 spoons. Actually, I've been doing pretty good, but I will say that I started doing something that the Wim Hof guy talks about with like the cold shower for that last minute. That's what I'm starting with. I started with like cold at the end for like 10 seconds, 20 seconds. I did a minute yesterday, and that's actually been really helping me because I would often get out of the shower and feel like I'm like melting and my body temperature was weird and like I'm going to faint. And doing the cold at the end of my shower has been helping me to feel less like I'm going to faint when I get out of it. So that's pretty interesting. I'm going to keep doing it, and I'll keep you guys posted on if that might be a way to help a shower not be such a difficult thing for you. Keep you posted.
And I think, Cassie, that's a really good point to bring up, because part of kind of just looking at all of this and how many spoons do different activities take isn't just about like, okay, well, your shower takes this many spoons all the time. Like, it can change. And sometimes maybe there's an activity where you're like, oh my God, this is taking half of my spoons for the day. Like I mentioned, like making dinner is like could be half of your spoons depending on how that affects you. Well, then if something is being a really big spoon sucker, well, what can you do to make that a little bit better? Is there a little trick like taking that cold water at the end of your shower? Could you ask for help? Could you just not do it if it's something that's really draining for you? And like, that's the other kind of step of once you start figuring out how you're spending your time, how your energy is being expended during the day, you can then start to take steps to maybe make it a little bit less draining for some tasks. So that's the goal, just to kind of get the most out of your spoons. And we know that this can be a really complicated process. So we created a little guide just to help kind of walk you through it. So it's completely free. All you have to do is go to the link in our show notes. It'll take you to our website, and then you can download it and use it. If you do use it, take a picture of it, screen share, something like that. Tag us on Instagram or Facebook at The Real Spoonies Unite. We would love to see how you're utilizing it and how it's helping you. That way we can make it better and better for everyone else trying to figure out the best way to use their spoons so that they can live their best life every single day.
Well, thanks so much for listening, everybody, and hope that you have a multiple spoon kind of day. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please write us a review to help us reach more people like you.
If you'd like to connect with Cassie and I, you can find us on Instagram at The Real Spoonies Unite. You can also join our private Facebook community, Spoonies Unite, or you can visit our website, therealspooniesunite.com, for all sorts of resources and to stay up to date with our current projects. And don't worry, you can find all of these links in the show notes below.
Thank you to our wonderful Spoonie patrons for all your support, and you can become one too. That's right. All you have to do is go on over to patreon.com/therealspooniesunite, and you can get all sorts of extra goodies like videos of our episodes and more.
Any support is greatly appreciated. It helps enable us to create more content for all of you, as well as make this podcast sound better and better. Thanks for listening. We can't wait to be back in your ears soon.